Hello and welcome to a new episode of Readings That Heal with me, Marissa of Marissa Moments. This is where you will be triggered into your awakening and then your connection. Now, when I say connection, sure, we're talking divine connections external to yourself, but we're mainly talking about connection back to source, connection back to self, recognizing the divinity within, recognizing your intuitive guidance system, recognizing the power that you always held the entire time that may have been triggered, traumatized, or programmed out of you. So we are getting right back to that place and space. But however, this podcast does come with a warning. Do understand that this is about divine accountability and being able to look at yourself in the mirror, doing the shadow work, taking accountability, like I said, and then moving on from there as it resonates. So if this does not sound like some place that you are ready to visit, then I will give you a moment to exit the room with love. Hey friends, so today's word is reception, right? Reception. Now, here's the thing. Now, when I say reception, I'm referring to how you are received, right? Now, sometimes here's what Spirit put directly on my heart, this quote. Sometimes the greater the distance, the better the reception, right? So here's an example, right? You ever been somewhere in a restaurant or something like that, and then you all of a sudden start tuning in on somebody else's conversation, and maybe you notice that somebody's having an argument and you start listening in. You might even hold your breath just to hear a little bit better, right? Now, I know I'm not the only one who's done this, right? So you're able to hear them, but then let somebody be talking to you at the same time that's sitting right across the table from you, and you can barely make out a word they say because you're so focused on that distant message, right? You're tuned into it to receive it because you don't really have an interest in what that person across for you has to say because they probably had that same conversation over and over. So now you're just like, whatever, now something new. Yay, right? Well, what Spirit has put on my heart is about reception, right? Being able to hear strangers, ear hustling, right? Now, Spirit gave me another example of this before we get it a little bit further, right? There's, a satellite in space bringing frequency in to whether it be your television or whatever it is. And yet you can't even hear the neighborhood radio station, right? You try to change the channel and tune in, all you get is static, right? And you're like, man, those satellites are really good all the way up in space. Now, the reason why Spirit has me give these illustrations is because they want you to understand why you're not being received, why that reception is poor right now, right? Because oftentimes we do have to create that distance in order to actually be heard. Have you ever had a conversation with someone? Maybe you're trying to establish boundaries, or maybe you're trying to tell somebody how you feel or whatever it is, right? And you have this same conversation, it feels like over and over and over again until you're blue in the face. And you feel like, man, I keep trying to tell them. I've even rephrased it. I've come from different angles. I tried to try different techniques and all this type of stuff, but they're just not hearing me, right? They're not hearing me. But what Spirit is saying is that's because based off of reception. And it's an illustration, not just for that, because Spirit isn't saying that you need to walk away. I mean, sometimes maybe that is a message for you, right? That sometimes we're not heard until we exit. We exit the room, and then all of a sudden that hearing perks up. All of a sudden, the person who couldn't hear you when you were sitting right in front of them, now they got perfect hearing and they can hear you from miles away, right? Now, all of a sudden, they have the opportunity to reflect on the conversations that you had because you're no longer present to keep ranting on and how they receive it and perceive it as being nagging, right? So you have to create that distance. Now, again, I don't know if that's your message and your takeaway. You have to go with what resonates. Use your discernment here, right? But we're talking about reception. How are you received, right? We keep getting frustrated because we feel like we're not being received by the people who are around us, but maybe that's because your message is not for the people who are directly around you. Maybe your message is bigger than your small circumference around yourself, right? Maybe your gravitational pull is greater than what you could ever anticipate, right? But you have to stop trying to focus on the person who's right next to you and saying the same thing over and over and over. Meanwhile, you're wasting your skills, your gifts, your benefits, your everything, your artistry. Because the person who's standing and sitting right next to you cannot receive you. They don't have any reception for what you're putting out there because you're on two different frequencies, right? So instead of getting frustrated and resentful and all those types of things, expand your reach. Expand. Because again, listen, this is what I received. Best believe that once you start expanding out there and your reach, what I see is almost like somebody like, do you guys remember Stretch Armstrong? I always refer to him because I don't know why. He just sticks with my spirit. Maybe that's because it's an example, an illustration of how far my reach will expand, right? But you have to become like Stretch Armstrong and get your arms out there, right? It's not only where your fingertips can reach, it's about how far your spirit can expand. And once you start doing that, and once other people start recognizing you and repeating, what I see is almost like somebody telling that person who is sitting right next to you and had that front row and center seat, right? That opportunity to receive all the gifts that are you, regardless of what those gifts are. Now, because somebody else came back and reiterated the message that you've been trying to say the whole time, now they're going to be able to receive it from that stranger. And then they're going to come back to you and say, you know what? Guess what I heard? But what they don't even realize in that moment is that they're just repeating the words that you've been saying over and over and over. And what I received behind that is don't get frustrated. Be proud. Because that's an illustration of your reach, right? We're talking your reception. So oftentimes people are not on the same frequency until they're on the same frequency. And by then you've already expanded even further. But if you keep allowing yourself to stay stagnant, if you keep feeling like you need to be on that local radio station dial and you're over there trying to fix people's turntables or whatever it's called, the little knobs to tune in. Now I'm taking it old school. If you keep trying to dial the knobs in order to get a better reception, then you're going to miss out on sharing a word with somebody else that is capable of receiving. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Because we're talking about reception, right? Let's think about a reception, a wedding reception, right? That's when you receive the bride and groom the first time as a united couple, right? That's that reception. You have that party, you celebrate. But here you are, you're trying to force somebody to attend a reception that they don't even want to attend. You're sending out the invitation over and over again. Please come, please come, please come, please come, please come. How many more times can I say that? And they're like, nah. Meanwhile, you got a whole list, VIP line standing to your back because you just refuse to turn around. And what Spirit is saying is that it's time to turn around. It's time to broaden your horizons. It's time to expand the reach of your reception. And not only that, you will be received with open arms, love, and adoration is what I receive. And it's not because you're forcing your words on somebody who refuses to hear. It's because now you've changed your direction. You've changed your trajectory and your approach. You've become the Stretch Armstrong of your world. And now you are reaching people that you never even thought possible. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down because, yes, this message is for you. Now, again, I have to put in the disclaimer. This does not mean that you need to let go of everybody because they refuse to hear you, because Lord knows everybody would be cutting off their kids right about now, right? Because they don't listen, right? But it's just to illustrate and remind you that maybe you're focusing all of your energy, attention, and even aggravation in the wrong direction. Maybe it's time to take a step back. Maybe it's time to broaden your horizons. Maybe it's time to reevaluate your audience, right? Whether that be one person or 1 million people. Because an artist, if I paint pictures and then I go to a water park, I'm probably not going to sell my paintings, right? But they might be destroyed. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Instead, maybe I need to go to a studio. Maybe I need to go to some place where it can be appreciated, received, and celebrated. A true reception. Okay, I know I said over and over that that's it, but this is truly it. Now, just remember, don't only listen to these words, but apply it. Take time, look yourself in the mirror, ask yourself, where am I forcing myself to be received, where God is really trying to turn me away from or navigate me out of, right? Who am I trying to force my word upon that does not want to receive it and isn't ready to receive it? And now I'm making other people miss out on the gifts that are me because I'm looking in the wrong space, right? So take it as it resonates, apply it, and then keep going. And of course, as always, this message will resonate. So it is for you. And even that person that you're thinking about, I mean, not the person that you're trying to shade because you're like, yeah, that's the person that doesn't listen, but the other person who always complains that they're not being heard. Yeah, that one, you need to send this to them. You need to share this because, as I said in previous messages, we're no longer gatekeeping. We're no longer putting a chain and lock on our healing and saying that it's, only while supplies last, right? So expand your horizons, share with other people. And remember, there's new episodes every single Monday morning, 5:55 a.m. Central Standard Time, United States time, right? And even outside of this, check the archives of the Pandora, Lord have mercy, of all of the streaming services, podcasts. Find me on social media because, as I always like to say, the only thing better than walking the spiritual healing path is to walk it with someone else, and especially walk it with someone who might be on a similar path or has already been there so they can turn back and guide you and help you along your path as well. So find me on social media. Make sure when you look me up, it is Marissa Moments. And as I always like to say, it's Marissa with one S because there is only one me. So that's it for now. And until next time, I want to say thank you for listening. And I wish you the very, very best day ever. So until next time, you know the vibes. Peace and happy healing.